a good business is always a good business plan, I would say. So you necessarily need to focus more on numbers. But typically, what you should do is start with an executive summary, which is um, 10 to 15 words description about what is your business. State the right problem that your business is solving. State the solution for that business. Solution is what you have built and how you built it. Then go on to define the right market opportunity in which you are operating. How big is the market? We talked about calculating the market top down or bottoms up. Once you establish the market, and if you are a business that has been running and you have some traction, then talk about your numbers. What are the numbers right now, and how you have seen the growth. So growth numbers are very important. That's because that's where people look at to see if you are doing well or if you need to pivot to a completely different business model. Um, Write your business model, which is where you are getting your revenue from. Typically, subscription or advertisement or commission-based model, and then go on to describe what kind of marketing plan is working for you, which are the channels that are working for you, how you analyze those channels, how do you collect data about those channels, and which channels do you stick with and why. uh, you know Also, if you have built an IP, if you have built a differentiation, and if the IP is defensible, talk about that IP, and it is important for you to talk about that IP. But if there is no IP, and no differentiation, then don't mention it in the business plan. Don't mention wrong things in the business plan that is an IP. uh, you know so it could lead on to your plans for the next 6 months to next couple of years. For most early stage startups, I would avoid putting in a 5-year projections, because 5-year financial projections, I mean, it, investors know it, that it is just it doesn't work, because most startups look out only 3 to 6 months in advance. So typically what they will look at is 3 to 6 months of how you have planned stuff, what is the resource ramp up, what is the cost ramp up, and they will look at the top line that you've been doing, and the growth is typically the most important part that they look at. So 6 months should be well planned, but still, to look at how you plan it, how you think, how big you think, include a 2 to 3 years financial projection. The last, but also the most important part is the team. Now, mention the team as the last. What is the achievement of the team, where they've worked previously, what they've done in their past. They typically, people put team either as a first or a last slide. I generally prefer to put it as a first slide. So you start with who I am, and then lead on to what your executive summary, etc. are. Now, don't confuse business plan with a business pitch. What most people typically have seen is represent that same business plan that they generally give one-to-one to investors, and pitch it in conferences or demo days, right? Business pitch is very different from a business plan. In business pitch, when you're talking to an audience of 100 people, you have to be very crisp, very concise. So you have to have big numbers on your slide, rather than an entire story. Have just 1 to 2 big points on your slide and talk about those points quickly. So numbers matter much more than an entire story when you are pitching to a room full of audience. Whereas on a one-on-one pitch, it will most probably stop at every slide, and will have an active discussion. So keep that in mind. Who's your audience, and write or tweak your business plan or pitch according to that audience, rather than serving the same deck to every situation.